Hey guys, Blue here. Today we are going to be drawing lips, the source of sound and the other expressive component of the face. I usually draw mouths with a curve and just a small line, like a smaller little curve underneath, just to signify the bottom lip. But usually I never really have drawn full-on lips when it comes to drawing characters. So today we are diving more into the realism side of things, but also with angles. And we're just gonna add in a touch of my usual style of lips if I were to draw them seriously rather than just my usual quick line with a curve. Note that although this tutorial may be a bit more focused on the realism side of things, knowing the basics of drawing lips can really help when it comes to the full face later on. There are also different shapes of lips, but I'll be keeping to a default shape just for simplicity's sake and just to make the angles a bit easier to explain. Now first, let's dive into the anatomy of the lips. You got the bottom lip and the top lip. The bottom lip is fairly simple, just with a gentle curve. There's nothing really much to it. It's just gentle and very simple shape. Next, we have the top lip, which has the cupid's bow, and this sort of little bump that follows the shape of the cupid's bow where the top lip meets the bottom lip caused by the tubercle. And then there's the philtrum, which is the part or section that connects to the nose, more specifically the septum of the nose. Then we have the corners of the mouth, usually the darkest overall along the line where the two lips meet. Lastly, the vermilion border, which is essentially just the outline of the lips. And you're done. That's this fairly simple anatomy of the lips. So on to the tutorial. Alright, the first angle we're going to be drawing for the lips is the front-facing lips. Now usually when I draw lips, when it comes to quick sketches or just drawing characters in general, I usually just draw a line like this and a line under to signify the lower lip. Now in this case, since we're going into the full-on details of the lips, we're going to be drawing it more complicated than just simply a line and a line under. So the first thing I usually like to do when it comes to drawing full-on lips is drawing the little divot in the middle of the lip, which is the this part where it's usually sometimes it's more obvious, sometimes it's not for the lips. It's called a tubercle, I think. I can't fully remember the exact spelling, as I usually don't refer to the full-on anatomy of the lips. I just draw and say, oh, this is the little divot in the upper lip before it goes down to the sides of the mouth. So I'm gonna try and make it centered so it wouldn't be sideways or something. So first of all, this is the beginning. So this is the divot of the upper lip. Now next up, what I would draw usually is the shape of the two lips meeting. Usually I would start a little bit bottom from the divot, move outwards like so, making sure it goes down a bit before going up. Kind of like a slight smile, and then same goes with the other side. I try to make them the same, which usually is a bit hard, and I usually have to try it a few times or have the eraser kind of just work it out a bit, It's not always going to be perfect, and usually I don't draw the facial features very big, as I usually like to draw the full body, as I usually draw the whole outfit and a pose. Alright. So now that I have the part of the mouth where the two lips meet, now you kind of just have to draw a little shape like that. And kind of just shade it in real quick. Just to be, that's the corner of your mouth. Like so. That's the corner of your mouth, and I'm just gonna fix this up a little bit. So like so. I'm gonna try and make sure that it's kind of similar. But the side's a bit too flat, so I'm gonna fix it real quick. So after you do so, like that, you just carefully mark out the corners of the lips. Usually it's a little bit higher than the rest of the lips, like so. Alright. Now next up, what I like to do is mark out the lower lip. So it's around here for me, as I usually like to draw the bottom lip a bit fuller. And now what I do is I lightly line up, starting from where the corner of the mouth kind of starts. So right around here, and just slowly mark out the vermilion outline. And it goes for the same. I try to make sure the shape is very similar. Just lightly mark it out, as usually the lower lip kind of is a lighter color and kind of blends in with the skin sometimes, depending on if they're wearing makeup or not, or depending on their skin color versus lip color. Next, on top, I would mark out the Cupid's bow. So right now for the Cupid's bow, it's around the same as the middle of where the divot is on the upper lip. So this is where I would go. And then just carefully round it down a bit. And just connect it near the end. That's a little bit too high. So sometimes when you gotta be careful, because sometimes when the Cupid bow is too high, it looks really weird. So once again, Cupid's bow. Usually when I draw lips, I usually have a fuller, the bottom lip is usually a lot fuller compared to the top lip. But that's for you to mess around with, as we're just doing the basics of the shape of the lips and just drawing them. Alright, so this is the top lip. You can make the outline a bit darker, because usually the top lip, the upper lip, is darker in color and actually contrasts with the skin. Now the next thing you need to do for the lips is kind of just do some marking. And by marking, I mean, like, you know, the lip skin, how they're kind of like shaped. There's like these little lines. So you usually start from where the lips meet and upwards towards the top or the bottom of the lip. So it kind of goes in this sort of like crowning way. It kind of goes along with the shape of the lip rather than just straight up like so. I usually, if I were to like do a quick sketch, I would just do straight lines across, just straight lines across. But in this case, since we're taking it a bit more seriously, we're going to follow the curves of the lip itself. So it would go outwards like so along the lips. And the middle part would be more straight up because dimensions and such. And you go like that. Now it's the same with the bottom one. And then you just follow along with the shape of the lip in general, and just make sure your strokes are light because they're not like really solid lines there. Now we can, after you mark it out, depending on how you want to do it, I would usually full on just kind of make this darker in shade in total. So what I would do is after I mark out the lines on the lips, I would just discreetly blend it a bit with a finger to make it darker. And if the lines kind of fade away like this right now, I would just go over it again just to have a little harder line, like a bit more pressure on when I'm drawing with a pencil, and you should be able to see it. Next is the bottom lip. Now the bottom lip usually is more blended with to your skin, so in this case usually these guidelines are just kind of there to see an idea of what the lips look like. So the first thing I would do is shade it, because the top lip usually kind of goes a bit over the bottom lip, especially where they meet, and we're going to have the light coming down from up to down, so we're going to be shading this part real quick. And if you kind of get like lost the outline of your like upper lip and bottom lip, just kind of darken it so that way you won't lose it. So now you just kind of like shade a bit. So usually how I would shade is I would put some pencil, like some graphite down, and then I would just use my finger to kind of just rub it out, so that way it blends in with the lighter tones of the lower lip. The lower lip in general would be lighter, especially like around here, because that's where light kind of hits, and you can just kind of blend out the edges a bit, so it kind of looks like, yeah, kind of just blends in. I usually keep this bottom line here to kind of signify the bottom, as there is a little bit of a divot. Like when you look at actual chin and lip, it's like the
the lowest part of your lower lip kind of goes inwards into the chin before it comes out. So it's usually darker. So I just kind of like mark out this part, like so. And we're just gonna carefully. Now the lower lip also has like markings, but first of all we need to make sure that the shading is like enough that we can differentiate between top and bottom, where it also doesn't like kind of blend together. So like so. Next we also do that with the lines with the bottom lips, as they also have like skin on it. Now in this case it's like I try to be careful not to go out of the lines that are sort of blended into the paper, because the lower lip is kind of just blended into skin. So at the corners of the mouth, usually I would just make it a bit darker because that part is usually a bit dark. So it kind of just goes with it, so you can kind of see outline. Now for the upper lip, if it kind of just disappears near that, just mark it out again, like so. And as you know, it kind of went out, so I'm just gonna fix that bit. Now that you're done with that, there is a part on the top where it's kind of like that little part where it connects to the septum of your nose. So it kind of goes like so. So this part, usually you have a nose up here, but since we're focusing on the lips, you just kind of blend it out a bit, like so. Just blend it outwards in this sort of slope, and you just like make sure the section in the middle kind of like goes in. And there you have it. Front facing lips. If you feel like it's not enough, or you want to kind of like make it darker, just add a bit more shading to it. Or you can just blend it out a bit like so. And there you go. Forward facing lips. Alright, the next type of lip we're doing is the 3/4 view. So essentially what I usually do for 3/4 view, or in general for it, is just draw the lip like this with one side longer, the other side shorter, and just draw the bottom line that indicates the lip like this. So essentially that's how I usually draw 3/4 lip if I am drawing really quickly or I'm just sketching for something really small. But now since we're doing this in realistically, like with like usual, like more realism than usual, it's a bit more complicated. So what I usually do is, first of all, I do a curved line down like so. This is essentially going to signify the middle of your lip. And then the next line is going to be right across, kind of like a guideline as to the longer end and the shorter end. This would be a longer side, so the side closer to the camera, and the side would be the one that's kind of like tilted away. So this would essentially be your guideline to drawing your lip. So as usual, like before, I would start with a divot. So this time I would start, let's say over here, reach the middle, and when I bring it up, it will be smaller and a bit closer and follows the curve of this line, like so. Now I'm just gonna make this little divot part a little bit rounder because it's a bit too straight. So this is the divot in the middle of your lip. And next, I would start drawing the longer side. So it goes down like so, and then reaches up a bit. It kind of goes to the end where the line is. I usually try to follow it as closely as I can to the sort of guideline. I'm gonna make it lighter because it was a bit too dark. So this was the guideline from before, and I would just draw it down slightly from where it begins, and then just kind of follow it. Kind of meet it like around here, and just like so. And then around here you got the corner of your lip again, from thick to thin, like so. And you can like just slowly just move out the guideline. So now this is the lip that's lip side that's closer to the camera, like so. And then now for the other side, you would make the dip a bit more quicker, and then it just goes up. Now that this isn't usually very good, so I kind of just need to fix that bit. So this part will be shorter, and it kind of ends around a similar spot as this one, so straight across. And then you just draw the corners of your lip, like so. Now that that's done, you can get rid of the horizontal guideline, like so. And now you have the essentially where the two lips meet. And now just mark out, like before, I would mark out where the bottom lip is. Just note that instead of having it like a straight line like so, like a curved line that's like really even like earlier, when we're drawing the normal front-facing lip, I kind of draw it at a sort of curve upwards like this, since it is in an angle, rather than just straight on full facing it. And then after that, what I would do is just lightly mark out the vermilion of the lip, the vermilion outline. You will note that this part is slightly more steeper, and it kind of curves outward slightly, because it's the side view, but the lips is kind of protruding from the face compared to the chin. And then over here, you just mark out the other side of the vermilion outline as usual, just from the corner of the lip outwards like so. And then next is the cupid's bow. Now note that the cupid's bow isn't even like last time where both sides, because it's not front facing. So you kind of just follow that divot you drew earlier, and kind of like that. Now I made the top lip a bit too big, so I'm just gonna lower the cupid's bow a bit and just follow along to the divot, so it's like follow the same curvature. And then after that, I would just mark out the top lip, like so. And this part, as you know, it's a lot steeper because it is a side view rather than a front view. Now you just have to erase that guideline, and you have the outline of your 3/4 view of a lip. For more extreme ones, if you're like doing a bit more closer to a side view, what you can do for the guideline is you draw the curve again, like so. But instead of that, what you do is you just draw it more towards the end, like more towards the end of the line, rather than this one where it's more towards the middle. This one would be more to the end, so it's more extreme, but it's not a full-on side view. Alright, now that that's done, we can start adding details to our lip. So same as before, you start the curve, but this time, instead of it going straight up in the middle, it kind of goes outwards, because the lip is 3D, it's protruding from the face rather than not, and instead this part where it kind of goes up, middle is around here rather than the full-on middle. Now you just follow along the curve like you did earlier with the front-facing lip. And you just go along marking out the skin. As before, usually the top lip is darker than the bottom lip. So I'm just gonna blend this out real quick. And just make sure it's a lot darker. And then we just keep doing this like so, marking it out. And yeah. After you do that, you can just darken the edges of the bottom lip and the top lip meeting point so it's visible. And then next is the bottom lip. Now usually I would have the bottom outline a lot lighter, like so. And I would start by shading it. So wherever it is meeting the top lip, it is a lot darker because usually the top lip is a bit more on the outside, more protruding than the bottom lip. And then after that, I would just quickly blend it out first before I start adding details to the bottom lip. And usually, if I find that the bottom lip is closer to top lip in color, I usually just grab my eraser and just lighten it up a bit, like so. It might not show up as well in the camera, but that's the basic gist of it. and I just mark out where the lip is, blend it out a bit over here along the edges, and then if this part's still a little too dark, I can just lighten it a bit more. And then now we can just add the details for the bottom lip. Note that it does it same thing as before with the top lip. The curves are not as straightforward as to where it is it just follows the shape of the lip, like so. Now this time the bottom lip is a bit dark, but you know, it can be very similar in shade and not. I just usually prefer to have the bottom lip a bit lighter so I can like tell it apart a bit, you know. So yeah. And after you do that, once again, there is the part where the nose kind of meets the lips. This time it's a bit more of an angle instead of just straight down. This one's still straight, but this one's a bit on the outer side. And once again, there's a bit up here, and just blend it out a bit. And usually the middle part is lighter, like so. It might not show up very well on the camera, but essentially the idea is that the middle part, it kind of catches light. And so, and there you go, your 3/4 view lips. Now here is the last lip for today, which is the full-on side view. This one I'm not the best at. Usually I avoid trying full-on side views of faces because I'm not that great at it, but we're gonna go ahead with it anyway. So in this case, we're going to be drawing a guideline just like before with the 3/4 view. Though this time, instead of having the line go through, like the horizontal one go through like this, we are going to completely not go through that line. So in this case, we're going to have it facing this way. So we're going to have the lip go like so. And just note that the lips kind of curve up, so it's not a full-on straight across. It will be like so. And then you kind of just stop as it like so. Now, the first thing that you need to be aware of, oh god, the camera's kind of dying. Give me a sec. Okay, let me see. Is the camera stable? Nope. Okay, sorry about that. So the first thing you need to do is note that the lips, given it is right against the, since it's a side view, the lips kind of protrude. So instead of just having a straight line, you kind of have something like so. And after you follow the guideline, you kind of just erase it. It has a sort of protruding to it. And what happens is where the two lips meet, you kind of just draw the divot again, but this time instead of just going straight up like so, it kind of just goes up, kind of like that. And then now for the bottom lip, it kind of goes out and then in like this, because usually if it extends further, we kind of just have that div before it's a chin, like so. Not very accurate, but you get the idea. And then next we're gonna do what we usually do with the sides of the lips. We kind of draw it curved out like so. Gonna have to constantly check to see if the camera's doing that weird thing again, because yeah. So now you do it, mark it out like this, kind of like you still kind of have that like lip thing, and then you have the end, the corners of your mouth. Usually it's a bit curved up. And next, is you kind of mark out the cupid's bow. It's kind of hard to like sort of explain, because usually the cupid's bow in this case, you kind of just see the high point of it before it goes down like that. Already, I can tell this looks pretty bad. So this might not be a very good tutorial for a side view of lips, but we're going through with it. I already went this far with this, so we're gonna commit. So this would probably be where your cupid's bow is, and just note that it kind of goes inwards before it goes out, because usually you would have a nose around here. So usually it's curving inwards a bit. And then next you just mark out the bottom lip like that. Usually the bottom lip kind of protrudes a bit more like that, and it kind of just goes like that. So I'm just gonna extend it a bit so you guys kind of have an idea as to where. So this would be the nose and so on. So now that you know what it kind of generally looks like, we're gonna just shade it in like usual. Just gonna check to see if the camera's acting up again. Okay, so we're going to curve out this time, as this is the front of the lips, and it kind of just follows it before you kind of reach that middle point. It's kind of like eyelashes, you know? And then after you do that, you mark it out. You mark it out like so. And then you just kind of blend it a bit. I'm going to be more gentle this time because I don't want to shake the camera too much. Is it blurry? Oh, frick. Okay. It's like so. And then after that, you just draw the bottom lip markings. Like so. And we're gonna just carefully blend that out a bit. Okay, it's not blurry. And then this time, however, after you blend out the edge, you're gonna have to darken it a bit more because it's sideways. And since I kind of added the chin and all, just to kind of give you an idea as to why I usually mark out the bottom lip, you can see that this part is where the chin kind of goes inwards and the lip is on top. So this part would be a bit more obvious. And that is your side view of lips. Now, that essentially is the end of this video, and I hope that the tutorial does come in handy. Like, it's a really simple one, and I hope it does help out with drawing lips or just an understanding of how to draw lips. And there are some resources listed down below as all my other tutorial videos, and I hope you find them useful or just very helpful in guidance. And that is all. Blue